Dharma friends, I'm very happy meeting with you. First, I want to thank those concerned people who organized this opportunity. Then also I want to thank those people who, despite difficulties, you come to here. Thank you very much. Now, next 4 days, we are going to discuss something about Buddhism. First 3 days, I will explain about general, general teaching. For that, I will explain in such a way that one way, academic way. But of course, for a practitioner, there's no differences, academic way of explanation and explanation for practice, no differences. In order to practice, especially in Buddha Dharma, you need to utilize our brain very much. Then the fourth day, I will give the very short chinlup, or blessing, and follow some explanation about the dzogchen. Now that meant for only practitioner. Now then, as usual, I will speak something, then on the beginning, so I think this morning, 2 hours, I will explain. I will go explanation. Then, the second session, on the beginning, I will make answer for those questions. So, before finishing this session, please write down questions, and someone will collect these questions. Then I will make answer on the beginning of next session. Then, for those practitioners, we must develop a good, right kind of motivation. Why we are discuss this matter? Certainly not for money, not for fame, not for the livelihood of this life. We have plenty of other things which brings more money, more fame, and more enjoyable things. So the main reason why we come to this place, and for me also, despite the language difficulties, try to to speak as now everybody want happiness and do not want suffering. That is, a point. There's no argument. Everybody agree. Now the way to achieve happiness and the way to overcome problem Now there differ. There are many ways to achieve, and also the variety of happiness or variety of suffering. There are also many differences. So now here, we are not only aiming for temporary relief or temporary benefit. Suppose we are thinking for long-term, aim or benefit. As a Buddhist, now we are not looking only for this life, but afterlife's life like that. And also, for a Buddhist, we are not counting, weeks or months or years, but we are counting life and eons. Now in this field, money, something useful, but there is a limitation. And other worldly power or worldly things. No doubt there are good things, but there is limitation. Now from Buddhist viewpoint, as a Buddhist, now if you can develop, if you have some development in mind itself, it will go for life, from life to life, life to life, and also because of the nature of mind is such that if certain mental qualities developed on sound basis, then that quality always remain. And not only remain, will increase. Time goes, it will increase. So the good qualities of mind, once we developed in a proper way, then that is eventually it will increase infinite way. And that brings not only happiness in long term, but in day-to-day life, it will give you more inner strength. So now, keep your mind in these things, then with a pure motivation, and listen without sleep. And from my side also, with that kind of motivation. The main motivation is, some sort of sincere feeling towards others. Some genuine concern for others. Others kasoda, titus lo kasore. Others thanda. Others kasore thanda. Means thanda. Others welfare. Then another thing you have to know is, you should kasore. You should know what you should know is that's sort of is a problem. Now that problem is now what to say? At the past 2 times I gave this sort of teaching, one in Harvard University, one in Melbourne. So you see, on each occasion, now everything recorded, and soon you see it will appear. So I have to
because everything's recorded and will soon come out, I have to teach something a little bit different, even if the basis is the same, there has to be some difference. And thus, from your point of view, if you're someone who's newly coming to these lectures, then it might seem to you that they're incomplete or that some part is being explained too much. Therefore, you're going to have to do something with your pocketbook later to spend for those other tapes that are going to come out.
Then it will be a complete teaching, isn't it? I think that's all. Then, now is how to develop a mental quality. Now for that, the
That's how we arrive at meditation. Meditation is something that definitely, or the mind is definitely something that can be transformed.
Nowadays, you see, means to transform. Here, usually we call meditation. You see, without making special effort, the transformation will not take place. So we need, you see, effort. Now, commonly, tandani ngaranjo semdi ta kasure chik tanda sabachiliya dijuni komsjuni ditane semdi da kasure tenteleya chik choban da tentele chik semda nyeburu da semdi dishada semdi kanda be komje tenteleya dibrichya da nichi kochogmero.
Meditation is a matter of familiarizing or making the mind acquainted with some new meaning. Basically, it means to get used to the object that you're meditating on. And as you know, meditation is of an analytical variety in which you analyze the object, and then at the end of that analysis, you set your mind one-pointedly on that object.
다 잡아신 시루달아야래 리치기 가소래 그게 다 된다들이야 잡아신이 된딘 진당 유도신 꿈루직 다 리치리야 양피게 잡아신이 간다 로코라 검제 된딘 몰이야 게임 아주 셴남 검바 전남 검바 쓴 셴 거.
And then within analytical meditation there are two types. One in which the object that is being meditated is taken as the object of the mode of apprehension of the mind, and one meditates on it. And the other type, the so-called object, is really that subject into which, or that type of consciousness into which you're trying to cultivate your mind. When meditation is divided, there are many, many different ways of dividing it. Then with regard to that on which one is meditating, or it seems convenient to make a division of these topics in Buddhism into view and behavior. The main thing is behavior. One's own behavior is what induces one's own happiness in the future, and it also is what brings about or induces others' happiness. In order for one's behavior to be of a pure and complete variety, it's necessary to have a proper view. One's behavior must be well-founded in reason, and once it has to be well-founded in reason, a proper philosophical view, a proper view is necessary. What's the main behavior in the Buddhist system, style of behavior? It is to tame or discipline one's own mind.
Another word, non-violence. 가르스는 낭배 처리야 다 남주 영자 자등 특별시 중 니셔리 니가로 다 어레다 니셔 니기다 마하야나스나 안 가다 샹리야 판다야 체 탱면서는 샹을 사와미지체 대니가로 닝지 자와지 인제
In general, in Buddhism, these vehicles are divided into two types, a great vehicle and a low vehicle. In any case, the great vehicle has the altruistic compassion of helping others as its root, and the low vehicle has the non-harming, the compassionate non-harming of others at its root. Thus, the root of all of the Buddhist teaching is compassion.
And that now, today in that now, got this one, that dinjalo, this one. So today in that teaching, the temperature, that take what you jalo, zawadi, that ninjil to the
Thus, the excellent doctrine of the Buddha has its root, all of it has its root in compassion.
Da, the day you should think you dump sanje ten, ninjil tumba in body.
And the Buddha who teaches this doctrine is born from compassion. And the main good quality of a Buddha is his or her great compassion.
So today you do that, give sanje le turna sanje sushi chishu zawarati ninjilia do yongi.
Thus, within the three jewels, if one considers the Buddha, the greatest quality of a Buddha is a Buddha's great compassion.
Da sanje 가서 셴 제수진야 나 셴의 초치야 다 가서 다 산지 띄우수에 다 간다 산지 띄우수에 준전이 쪼디 인지 토도와
The reason why a Buddha is suitable to take refuge in, the reason why it is suitable to take refuge in a Buddha is because of the Buddha's great compassion.
다드네 추추신도 중매기 더 긴든슬라버리 긴든도 집에 제슈디 독식 사무실 담배이나 그다 아니 좀 된데 년도기 긴든스야디 아니 나다디 개정도 집에 최시사야디 냠는chen 디하는 연구요 아래 개정도 집에 최시 가사 체양 라미지 최장 라미지 대장 라미지 신양 라미지.
Now the Sangha, the spiritual community, has four qualities of pure enactment of the teaching. These four are
신양라는 것이 있습니다. 가서래 쉬어. 쉬어서 인지견 가서 쉬어. 다 즉 토참바로 시작이나 토참바다 즉 갑대로 시작. 즉 제베이네 주 델팔 레말로스 I think there's another way I will explain. 당연히 미치기 소소수 내가 용이나 수니가 연배인의 파 많이 봤습니다. 대장라면 디스트릭.
So the first one means that if someone comes to harm or strike you, of not answering back in kind.
다지 주 최다. 가서 더 콘도 산지 더 최배 넘주. 다 대본은 이제 다 최배 넘주 때는 주 충분히나야 파 맞추시.
And the second is that if someone comes with an angry attitude, not striking you or anything like that, but with an angry attitude, not answering with an angry attitude.
다 딘이 면들지. 라보다로지 간다 추너밖에 다 추가소리. 터참바. 쇼 터참바.
And then and
셰셔라 이미 왜? 다 가다지 소소리야 터참바 지금 말 미참바지 다 소소리야. 즉 신경 제발서 어디 되게 다네 다 간다. 쇼
next two of them. And then and then the third one is of someone challenging you on not with anger or not with striking you or with anger, but something less than that, and not again answering in kind.
Insult sentiment. Sure. And you could do it. Sure. Sure, specifically. Sure. Caution of shit. Mainly that's in
So that's mainly someone using harsh words against you.
This one. That in Chang Jujiang Lar Chang Men Ruas. Chu Ji So Su de Non Ru de Ji Gang ya Mi Chu de Zhu Zhu. That's one. That's the Chi Gua Ba. We can do so, but I'm embarrassed at the Chi Ba. Today Chang Jujiang Pa de Lam Ma Lo ya.
And then the fourth is that if someone accuses you, making you embarrassed, that you won't again answer that in kind.
This one. That this she would tell a case to she slowly.
These are called the 4 practices for virtuous training. For a virtuous trainer. Practicing virtue. These are the special qualities of the Sangha. So thus this is the style of behavior for a monk or nun. Now the root of these again meets back to compassion, right? Thus the main of the qualities of the Sangha, of the spiritual community, derives from compassion. Thus the 3 refuges for Buddhists, the Buddha doctrine and spiritual community, all 3 of them have their root in compassion. Now all religions are the same in having powerful systems of advice with respect to the practice of compassion.
Daily life world problem.
This basic behavior of non-violence that has compassion as its root is something that we need not only in our daily lives, but it's something that is needed nation to nation throughout the world. In general, it seems that one can say that even though there are many different interpretations of dependent arising is the general view of the Buddhist systems.
된다면라지 숨 쉬어요. 된다면라서 그래다. 가다지 고아면라지 숨다 된다 법선은 배지 집으집을 갈래요.
In Sanskrit, the word for dependent arising is pratitya samutpada. The word pratitya has three different meanings of meeting, of relying, and of depending. In any case, all three of these have roughly the same meaning of dependence.
스무바다 중.
And samutpada means arising.
다 가다지 깨는 때도 중지. 거기도 다 때도 지금 때도 중하사지. 깨기 왕의 중.
Thus, the meaning is arising in dependence upon conditions.
다 들려야 참을 시야인데 때는 중을 두쟁기 랑심하고서 시야인이야.
When it's explained on a subtle level, dependent arising in dependence upon factors, or an understanding of this involves an understanding of the emptiness of inherent existence.
다 간다지 가서래. 냐라네 최강 아니 때는 중을 두쟁기 때는 중을 두쟁기 이 랑심에 버렸어야기 냐라 시추전디 패는 중에 추전 보여 봐. 다 뒤인도 전에 추전디 타는 레윤도 아도다 가서래. 간다. 땡진 잡아 줘. 가서다. 땡진 잡아 줘. 지금 상당히 간다 이제 내게 뒤도 나서 더 chegengi 간다 시디 고고야. 디시고야.
Now, in order to reflect on the fact that something is empty because of being a dependent arising, one has to understand that something, that subject about which you're reflecting that it is empty of inherent existence because of being a dependent arising. Thus, it's necessary to identify the subjects, that is to say, phenomena that produce pleasure, pain, that harm, that help, and so forth.
자, today 전에 내가 지단에 딱 봤어야 돼. 지세시 그게 편윤제 등에 간다지 두든 제비 남샤디디 예되네. 남샤디디 예세 시디 야구지 그게 다소래. 셔주 맞주나? 아니 dindig shiti tene ko tene taksam yinza rangshime bale sayadi and shakawore.
Thus, prior to understanding that a phenomenon is empty of inherent existence because of being a dependent arising, in the sense of being designated because of being dependently designated, it's first, if one first does not understand cause and effect well, that
shit, yel kandata, kanda student debut, that student debut penugida, yedevici, kanda student namsha shawala. That thing ya would sham machina. She's a tradition man. Any kanda shitty tene, that would do the regime of real cowardice.
One has to understand the presentation of cause and effect about how certain causes help and harm in certain ways. If one does not understand this first, then it is extremely difficult to understand anything about emptiness of inherent existence because that phenomenon is a dependent arising.
That in the Indusane, under Delia, Jumden Degi, Azure, under Tendig Quachilia, any Landeg, Landeg Namshana, never Champuniagi, Gogi, Tendish.
Therefore, Buddha set forth, the supramundane victor Buddha set forth a presentation of dependent arising in connection with the cause and effect of actions in the process of life and cyclic existence, so that one could gain through it great understanding of the process of cause and effect itself.
That did you do other day, and the 10 days I think Sikta Kasore, Sikti Tane, that 10 Yala Juni, 10 to that Jake.
Thus, there's one mode of procedure of dependent arising that is called the 12 branches or 12 links of dependent arising.
That dinner thought about Tom Zinduchini, and a Chokanda Kainaya, that charging Jima, that disha. And the chat is very shy we are. In the Indusane, any charging a church, rang a child then a tower is any. Due to six shame we are. Chat charging due to six shame we are. The next danger six shame.
then there's a second level of dependent arising that is the dependent arising of phenomena in dependence upon their parts. In other words, there is no phenomenon that does not have parts, and thus every phenomenon exists in dependence upon designation to its parts.
다 드네 더동 파서도 따니 아니 저카다 가이나야 아니 더 시스템네 생신이야요 말이스 드네 인도자네 아니 민기 파다 짱바레스 다 로이파 딱sam레스 다 더실레 때네 딱sam레스 전 드네 디주시샤.
And then there's a third, even deeper level of dependent arising, which stems from the fact that when objects are sought among their bases of designation, there is nothing to be found that is that object of designation, and thus phenomena are just dependently arisen in the sense of being dependently imputed.
다 당고 다 텐데야마 주니기 다 텐데 소야디 다 안데 텐데가 거야토네 두제기 다 유진을 때는 중앙 과치셔 윤두 조 두제를 셔입니다. 두제를 보입니다. 다 대민기 텐데 과치는 두제 이름에 참을로 켜입니다.
On the first level of dependent arising, this is the arising of phenomena in dependence upon causes and conditions, and thus it applies only to caused phenomena, products, whereas the other two levels of dependent arising apply to both permanent and impermanent, or produced and unproduced phenomena.
So
now you have these papers with the 12 links of dependent arising, right?
왜?
예.
그 다들. 팔라만 얘기야 또 왔더니. 근데 그 장다 얘는 자주 지금 두가를
It's that I'm becoming like a Western.
Oh yeah. 다 죄송합니다. 전에 다 딴데랑 주니 되게 좀 된데게 간다 마송윤도 전에 다 샤 구지셔부셔 송비입니다. 고아 자신부에도 송비입니다.
When Buddha set forth dependent arising, he set it forth from a very vast perspective.
And the shibja sungsaji salujangpa dana songyuya.
And the place where he spoke about it in detail was Salujangpa.
Salujangpa.
It's the Shalistamba Sutra.
다 지나라리야. 바 가소래. 좀 된다리야. 다는 좀 도시 다나 레벨이 지네. 저틀린 쉬니. 엔드리기 탈 좀 되게 말 랭견이. 안디 송도와. 디예베 디주. 디케베 디케. 디다데스. 머리베 왕게. 아니 두지 왕게. 남시 왕게. 아니 민수 chen. 아니 하나 중에 맞소는
In Sutra, Buddha set it forth in this way. He said, due to the existence of this, due to the existence of this, that arises. Due to the production of this, that is produced. It is thus, due to the condition of ignorance, there is compositional action. Due to the condition of compositional action, there is, and then he went through the 12.
단디기 디에베 디중 센 소야디기 디수기였다 하사 요아메베 겐레 중앙에서 디수기야.
When Buddha said due to the existence of this, that arises, is indicating that the phenomena of cyclic existence do not arise through the force of the supervision by a permanent deity.
가다시 군족이 로이 영원도 땅 디사스 다 가다이니 군족이 로이 영원도 땅에 중원지 말레스 깬잠다 되는 중원에 생겼다 디 간다 디 여바 잠기다다 주더긴 딘듯이 여 잠기 아니 데부터 중대버지래 생겼다 디송이 말 디에 디중스
Buddha is saying that the phenomena of cyclic existence do not arise due to the supervision or supervision by some deity, that deity is thinking to create this or to create that. Rather, they arise due to specific conditions.
단 디케베 슬럽드 미다베 땡기 중앙선 순가 땡이베 미다베 땡기 중앙선 다야베는 지조다고 다지 간다 딱바 인딩이 지기 애니 균제가 자치도 말이스 근데 인도전에 미다베 런신 쟁기 애니 쟁기 왕기 기고 그래 스타디송가 근데 인도 디케베 디케스
Then in the second one, when Buddha said, due to the production of this, this is produced, rather than saying due to the existence of this, that arises, he's indicating that things arise from causes that are themselves impermanent. That is to say, they do not arise from the generality or nature or prakriti, as is set forth in the Sankhya system, some sort of permanent material factor.
다음은 미다가 깽기 깨버지나 아니 나다 미다가 인행지기 다 깽 가네네 배다 깨두고 했을라나 대점 그 말이스 랑 되고 투모 모임 비야 누버도 되버지기 아니 미다가 취지를 끼고 그래서 누베 깽기 그래서 누베 깽이 끼ます누베 깽 깽술로
And then in a third way that he said it, he said, due to a condition that has such a potential that arises. This indicates that the phenomena of cyclic existence are not produced just from any impermanent causes and conditions, but rather they're produced from specific ones that have the potential to give rise to those specific phenomena.
다들 가래서나 아다 가소래 저부 둥에 다 둥에 기야마 샤윤도 가다 머리베 땡기 있다 머리베 땡기 다 드샤 다 가다 미다베는 시인데게 그봐 간다지 저부 투무 모임 비기야게 다 소소도 간다 드샤 다 리투버스네메도 간다 소소 투무 모임 베단 저부 기야게 네베 여데베시 깨구 예베 인도잖아 다디 근데 레슬럽도 머리베 땡기 코라 머리버스네 몽데베 샤디어 봐 논리네 샤디어 봐 근데 그 사병 거라 마타고스네면도 간다 경유에 되는 진도잖아요. 대왕이 계셔베 레디 간다 마음번은 둥에 타용이 레샤요. 그러다 코안주시 두시 레체. 다 레디기 겐지 있는 넘버 7. 다 레그 다 디샤. 그냥 루슬람들이 다 넘버 7. 다 두마 바한시 인소. 타마 슈구다디 데부드 가려서는 알티메트 리서치 가려서는 것이 다 두미시야.
Thus, in terms of setting forth the dependent arising of suffering, how suffering is produced, Buddha is showing that suffering has as its root cause ignorance. This is an impermanent cause, and it's a specific cause. That ignorance leads to compositional activity or an action. That action deposits a potency on the mind, etc., which eventually has its fruit as the last member of dependent arising as old age and death.
다수 동료나 수 동니 샤베 있는 페이지 당연히가 당연히 도스람들이 다 머리베 땡기 두지 땡기 남시 땡기 에네 민수 셴네 독스마 거시보도 샤윤도 군인이 뭐죠? 다 간다 당연히가 양라 주니기 셰주들이야 군인이 뭐죠기 도단식만 샤단식다 남장 초기
Now, with regard to the 12 branches of dependent arising, there are basically two different explanations. One in terms of thoroughly afflicted phenomena, and one in terms of pure phenomena. And then in each of these, just as in the Four Noble Truths, which are the root teaching of Buddha, just as there are in those two sets of causes and effect, one effect and cause for the afflicted quarter, and the other the cause and effect and cause of the pure quarter, so here in the 12 links of dependent arising, in each of the two types of explanations, there's like a cause procedure and an effect procedure. In terms of the Four Noble Truths, true sufferings, the first truth, true sufferings, are the effects in the afflicted class of phenomena, and their causes are the second truth, true origins. And then in the pure class of phenomena, the true cessations, the third truth, are the effect in the pure class, and true paths are the causes of it.
This one. 다 양아 중이디 다 가사죠. 진변. 동네 기름네 마셔요도 머리베 땡기 두지 선마 동네 기름디 샤요도 꾸네니 못 살지. 다 머리번 가니 아니 두지가 셴네. 두스마 거리비 차네 샤요도 다 가다 가가 쳐데 샤요도 남자 살지.
When it is explained that due to the condition of ignorance, action is produced, one is explaining the afflicted class, it in terms of the afflicted procedure. And when it is explained that due to the cessation of ignorance, action ceases and so forth, it is explained in terms of the pure class. So the first is the procedure of the production of suffering, and the second is the procedure of the cessation of suffering. Now both of these are explained, one in a forward process and then in a backward process. So then when it is explained that due to the condition of ignorance, action arises, due to action, consciousness arises, due to consciousness, name and form arises, due to the condition of name and form, the six sources arise, due to those and down through to aging and death. That is the explanation in terms of the causes that are the sources of suffering.
세바도 초안을 되는 중심. 독스야 샤윤도 그다 동네군이 샤윤도. 저거 독dengu군. 저 샤윤. emphasis 되는 샤윤.
Then when it is explained in the backwards way, like going upwards, that the suffering of aging and death that we all know about is produced, it said it's produced in dependence upon birth. Birth is produced in dependence upon this potentialized level of action called existence, etc., on up. Then the emphasis here, the emphasis here is on true sufferings themselves, which are the effects of those causes previously.
남신가나 민순가나 계진가나 rekwa 다 초안가나 세바 렘바 시버스진 다 독스마 샤윤도 남장 초기 디셔 가서 듀디셔 남den셔.
And then when it is explained that if one ceases ignorance, then action ceases, and if action is ceased, then consciousness ceases on down through the 12. Then this explanation is in terms of the purified class of phenomena, with the emphasis being on the causes. That is to say, true paths from among the Four Noble Truths. Then when it is explained backwards or upwards in terms of the cessation of aging and death depending upon the cessation of birth, the cessation of birth depending upon the cessation of the actualized, almost potentialized level, which is called existence, the cessation of that depends upon the cessation of grasping, then the emphasis here is on the effect, and in terms of the Four Noble Truths, true cessations.
맞잖아. 다디 바슬라리아 독신. 다디 시보콜로 창아바슬라.
This is called the wheel of cyclic existence, which has 5 parts.
내세 나오던 주고래. 네. 자. 다 창아도가 그래야 창아바스.
There are in what you have in your hands, there are 5 like quarters, 5 parts in it, and in which the gods and demigods have been included in one part.
If translator not translated well, this is the thing.
So these changa,
창아바.
in changa,
이제다 아래 창아 독스바. 그래서 책임도 나다디 동해지셔야 돼.
love it. The identification of
창아디. 창아디 사단 세민이 집도.
Now, in the 5 and what you have in the hand,
this is correct.
God, the level of gods and demigods are included as one part.
That they
In this tanka, there are 6. Then one part is of humans, and then the other 3 parts are of the 3 bad or low transmigrations within cyclic existence. Now, these represent the levels of suffering, and due to what conditions do they arise? And it's indicated by the next inner circle that these levels of suffering are produced by karma, by actions. And it's in two halves. The half as we look at it on the left, being virtuous actions, these being of two types, meritorious and unfluctuating. And then on the right side, non-virtuous actions, leading down to the lower realms. And as this one has, the base on the right side is white, and the base on the left side is black. And the one on the right, the persons are facing upward, moving upward, and the one on the, did I say it right? The one on the left, they're facing upward, and the one on the right, they're facing downward. And then these sources of suffering, which is the source of suffering, which is karma, what does it arise from? It arises from that source which are the afflictions of desire, hatred, and ignorance. Indicated by the innermost circle. And the pig indicates ignorance, the snake indicates hatred, and the bird, or maybe rooster? Is it a rooster? It's rooster indicates desire. So this one that indicates ignorance is supposed to be real stupid, but its meat is very tasty, right? And in a more correct version of the painting, the rooster, or the bird, and the rooster, I guess, rooster and snake would be coming out of the mouth of the pig. And the two of them would have their mouth on the tail of the pig. This indicates that desire and hatred have ignorance as their root, but the fact that they in turn are held on to the tail of the pig indicates that each of them acts to assist and further the other. Then, thus the indication, the symbolization is that the three afflictive emotions of desire, hatred, and ignorance give rise to good, virtuous, and non-virtuous actions, and these give rise to the various levels of suffering in cyclic existence. Then what is the order, the cause and effect order of the arisal of such suffering? This is indicated by the outer rim. The outer rim symbolizing the 12 branches of dependent arising. And this fierce type of being on the outside that doesn't indicate some kind of creator deity. Rather, it indicates impermanence.
자, 다들 근데 이제 드자고가 일단 승부 사지 말래. 그잖아 그러고. 승부 그다음 승부 도와리로 해서 승부 사지 이게. 봐. 지금 승부 좀 다시 간다지 라프로 봐. 되레마도 지들 타가면서 다시는 왜 견제した이렇게 제가 말해.
Thus, the being is a wrathful type of spirit, and thus, in this tanka, I really think it's wrong to have well, there's no need to have these ornaments and so forth. The essence, though, is that it symbolizes impermanence. And once when I had it drawn, I had it drawn in a skeleton on the outside. Skeleton-like. Because it clearly symbolizes impermanence. Here, the moon, which in the one you have in your hand is on the far side, the left side is top left side, indicates liberation. The Buddha on what is our right, well, on the right side, is pointing to liberation, indicating that one should generate the paths that lead to liberation.
present.
Present.
라다 드리체니. 아니